Unleavened Bread. And I did my best to stick with that topic. You know, it's difficult because you got 7 holy days. And so each one is an individual, but each one collectively are one. But they're being fulfilled at different stages of mankind. And so, Rabbi 2, I'm coming to you in a second. Just wanted to give him a heads up. But in my beginning of manhood, adulthood, I had a desire when I became a man. When I came to a point of my life that I was now independent of my roots, my parents, grandparents, uncles, sisters and brothers, I left all of that behind me. And when I came to a point that is already innate, meaning born in me, there came something that I had to pay attention to. And I'm going to use a word, and it's called desire. And right away, the adults, I know that you know where I'm at. But right or wrong, it comes, right? So when that time of desire came for me, I had a strong desire, and my desire is now my wife. She was my desire, and I'll speak for her since she's not in here. I was her desire. From childhood, we grow to a stage of life. There's differing stages, right? And the closer we get to it, we have to control those stages as parents. Y'all see me? So when we have children, when they become middle school age, high school age, college, we have to understand now we're into a different stage of life with our children. My daughter has already gone through college and out on her own. So both my son and my daughter, we have reached a different stage of life. So now we're treading on ground we've never been through. I've never been through this. So now I have to learn how to deal with a 38-year-old son who has his own family. So in my desire, I got married. Yes. There she is. Rabbi 2, what was your desire? When you became of age, when you became of age, okay, Shamika, can you speak for it? Because you're the helpmeet. Okay. So you saw helpmeet in action. He's lost his voice. I'm really struggling trying to keep a part of it so I can get this message out, because I haven't been able to talk this well. So, Father, Son, right? We both meant our desire. And in my illustration, what I'm trying to draw out for you, you already know. that what is the desire? And again, Lori, I'm having to learn, how do I walk with my daughter who's 29 years of age? And she has desire. And I, as a father and mother, have to learn to deal with both situations. One married, one unmarried. One has children, the other one does not, as of yet. So, my thing is to go back to the scriptures, because I'm walking in unknown territory for me. I don't know this. I have to search the scriptures. How do I do this? And I think we have probably some of the oldest of the parents and children in here that are here walking with us. Here, I'm saying, okay? And so as we are walking this path and trying to learn, Rabbis and myself, we are really trying to learn our path, but we're seeking Yahweh's guidance. Because now, as I've expressed to them both, they judge me. How do they judge me? By the Torah. This will repeat itself because Ephraim is 12 years old. One day he's going to judge his father. So if his father doesn't judge me correctly, he will judge his father. And which one of the generations have to return? So I have to return. I have no choice, because my son, who's 38, he's watching me and judging me by the Torah. This young man he's of age. The only thing I can do for him now is walk straight before him. That's the only way I can say to him, son, you're wrong. And this is not my message. I'm leading to something. So once I walk it out before my family, I got Rabbi Tu, Minister Shamika, Lori, Ephraim, Elise. If I do it wrong, any one of them can point to their father, who can point to me and say, well, Rabbi didn't do this. Talking to their father and mother, saying, well, you know what? If Papa didn't do it, then I must question it. But if I walk it out before my son, I strengthen him in his Torah walk. Because if I get it right, he gets it right, he can get it right before his son. So I'm looking out for my next generation. And so, unleavened bread, is it a test? For those of us who are here today, I want to dig into this because I got to get it right. Because someday my son is going to be able to say, well, Daddy, you didn't. But from this point, I need to be able to say, son, I did. Walk this out. How so? Let's first begin to understand what unleavened bread really is. Let's define it. So, to define unleavened bread, let's go to the root word. Y'all know I'm a teacher, so let's go to the root word. What is the root word? Leaven. Thank you. So leaven is the root word. In Hebrew, it is sor or seor. That is good. That's correct. Because it's actually the sound phonetically, S-E-H-O-R. Phonetic sound. So, seor or sor, which is leaven, it is taken from, which is H7603. And I have the Hebrew up there. Shin Aleph Resh. Okay? Shin, Sin Aleph Resh. Seor 11. H7604. This is the concordance number that tells us where to search for this particular word. It is balm or yeast cakes, swelling or fermented. So this is the characteristic that it is known by what yeast does. It ferments, it swells. Continuing. So we're going to go to 7604. Sha'ar. Briggs, driver Briggs. Which means to remain, be left over, be left behind. Other uses. Part A, the main one is number 1. That's the one that it is used for here. But it can be used in other texts, other ways. So here, 1A says to remain. 1B and 1B1, to be left over, be left alive, survive. 1B1A, remainder, remnant. 1B2, to be left behind, which agrees with our use for today, which is number 1. That's going to be our use for today. So let me ask this question. Do or not to do? That's the question. Do or not to do? So the question is, what is it that we do? What do we do? Exodus chapter 13 verses 4 through 6, which agrees with Leviticus chapter 23. Talmudim, you already know what this is, the holy days. But I'm going back to the beginning, to a time that Yahweh spoke to the Hebrews at Mount Sinai. Went into a covenant. When they went into this covenant, I want to just kind of let you know up front that he told them to do something. So let's take a look and see what he told them to do. Today, you are going out in the month of Abib. The month is not called Abib. The character of the month is Abib, which means barley come to a certain stage. It is now 2 weeks from harvesting. When you harvest in 14 days, you will be able to eat matzah, unleavened bread. In the month of Abib, and it shall be when Yahweh brings you into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall you shall keep this service in this month of the Aviv. 7 days you eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day is a festival to Yahweh. So in other words, he's speaking to Israel, the Hebrews, who have now gathered at the foot of Mount Sinai. And he is instructing them to do something. And so in this, He gives everything they need to do when they go into the land. So right now they are coming out of Egypt. The year is 2448. They are now being loosed from their bondage, their chains. Hebrew slaves are now free. But during this time, he went into a covenant with them. And what was the covenant? That when they come into the land of who? The Canaanites, Hivites, Amorites, Jebusites, Jebusites. It was a covenant that he gave to their fathers, and we can name him Abraham. So the covenant that he went into 430 years, well, let me be precise, 430 years earlier. Now my mind is going back to when he gave them the promise. Him the promise at age 75. Y'all remember that, right? So at age 75, he promised him that he would have many seed, many children. At that time, his wife was barren. I'm just going through it to help you remember. But she didn't have children until she was at what age? 100 years old, right? So at that age, at the age of 75, he went into a covenant. 7 plus 5 equals what? 12. So did he already know what was coming? Oh yeah, he knew. And I'm not going to get busy with numbers. Right now I want to keep you focused here. And so he went into a marriage at Mount Sinai. There's another scripture that says, Israel is the apple of his eye. Thank you. Let's try it again. I slowed down for a reason. Israel is what? So when you say the term apple of his eye, even in this day, we understand it as what? Desire. So as I opened up, Rabbis, my desire, and for a lifelong, this is a marriage. And so when my son became of age, he too had a desire. And his desire was fulfilled. Minister Byers, who is now part of our family, not adopted. She is blood, because there's two blood covenants. There's one and there's the other. And so you all get to witness his desire. I'm applying this to you, but I'm using myself because I don't want nobody to feel, oh. All right? So they've been around me long enough so they know how to take me. But some of you, we have some who are reaching marrying age, some who are behind you, some who just got married, so we have differing stages. And so we have to walk this out before you, or you can say, well, Rabbis, what about you? Minister Byers. You can point the finger. But if we walk this out before you, then we always have way to say to you, brother, we need to talk. Sister, we need to talk. That's why we have both men and women, because sometimes we have differing issues that we need to talk about. So, my question is this. In the covenant that Yahweh asked of Israel, would you say that was fulfillment of his desire? Because let me give you another clue. He said men, and everyone actually, he says nothing, no beast should touch the mountain. Not even the beast touch the mountain because it's set apart. And men do not come near a wife. Why? Because at this time, there's going to be another marriage ceremony and entering into a honeymoon stage. And Yahweh want to be the husband. And so, oh, y'all know that Yeshua is coming as a bridegroom, right? So he enters into a marriage with us, male, female. But for us to understand, we have the roles of male or female, and then we begin to examine the roles, our roles with one another, so that we understand our role with him. Because he is ultimate, right? The man is what? The head. I've already did this message, so I don't have to go back into it. Just as Yahweh is the head of Messiah, because it says Messiah is the head of man, right? You start with the man. Messiah, Yeshua, is head of man, but man is head of who? Oh, y'all said like y'all were scared. Man is head of who? Woman. And so they two together raise their children, male and female. So this process is happening again. And quickly, let me just go into this little part. When things happen, both good and evil, because we ate off the tree of what? Knowledge, right? So when good and evil, when we don't reflect our Father, sometimes what happens, we have conflict. And in conflict, sometimes there's real hurt, right? Between both man and woman, because we don't always walk this what? Righteously. We're supposed to. We're learning, and we are returning. But in the clash of the two becoming one, the scripture says, and your desire shall be for who? Your husband, right? So I'm sinking a little deeper into something, and I need you to stay with me, because I'm not going to stay in it long. So your desire, if he should hurt you, if he should, some things I'm not even just going to say, y'all just have to imagine. If there is heartbreak, let me use myself. I know my parents, and I've watched them. My father, when they had conflict, he had no other way to resolve it once it really got going. And I understood him. But you know, conflict happened. And I saw my father bring blood from my mother. When I got big enough, I tried to jump in. I tried, y'all. It was the wall that stopped me after he hit me, and I hit the wall and slid down. We will protect our mothers because she is the weaker vessel. But we have to learn how to love her, how Yahweh wants us to love her, right? And so in this, cutting right out of that, there is a desire that even in that, Yahweh says, and I've seen it. My mother went back to my father every time. We left him, she went back. I was a little boy carrying duffel bags. Grand Central Station, she didn't drive. So every time we ran away, we had to get a cab. But that was hard for us as children, because we had a number of us. And to watch my mom and dad go at it, you already know who's going to win. My father, he's a big man. Still a big man. So my mother was no contest for him. So what did I learn? I didn't want to do that. That was not what I had in mind. So now as I return to the Torah, what is my desire? What is your desire? Okay? Those who are single, what is your desire? Some may not want to marry or remarry. But if you're not married, the general course of life is, I want to get married. And so we try to fulfill that role. Your desire shall be for your husband, no matter the circumstances. So what I want to do here is I want to begin to look at some images of the past. Judges chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. And this is a 480-year period of judges. Okay? So you had them coming out of Egypt, led by Moshe and Aharon, and then Yehoshua. And after that, it was a 480-year period. They gone into the land. They were ruled by judges. And so let's take a look at an example. And the children of Israel did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, and Yahweh gave them into the hands of the Midianites, or the Midian, for 7 years. And the hand of Midian was strong against Israel. And before the faces of the Midianites, the children of Israel made for themselves the refuges which are in the mountains, and the caves, and the strongholds. Verses 11 through 15. And the messenger of Yahweh came and sat under the terebinth tree, which was in Ophrah, which belongs to Joash and Zarite, while his son Gideon thrashed wheat in the winepress, to hide it from the eyes of the Midianites. And the messenger of Yahweh appeared to him and said to him, Yahweh is with you, you mighty brave one. Now y'all know he didn't think he was a brave one, but he was out there hiding the wheat so the Midianites didn't see their food nor where they were. And so while the messenger appeared, notice the messenger. Keep up with the messenger. All right? And it says, second bullet, Gideon said to him, Oh, my master, if Yahweh is with us, why has all this come upon us? And where are all his wonders which our fathers related to us, saying, Did not Yahweh bring us up from Mizraim? But now Yahweh has left us and given us into the hands of Midian. And Yahweh turned to him and said, Go in the strength of yours, and you shall save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you? And he said to him, Oh, Yahweh, with what do I save Israel? See, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. So you can kind of see his character right there. He's like, me lead them? I'm the weakest one of the smallest group. So he put himself all the way to the bottom. Why you want to use me? And where's all the wonders that our fathers told us about Yahweh bringing our people out of Mizraim? But look, the first bullet. And the messenger of Yahweh looked down to the second one, and in red, and Yahweh turned to him. So who would you say Yahweh, who would you say is the messenger? Yeshua. Yeshua is the messenger. But look who's talking. And Yahweh turned to him. Right? So it's Yahweh. Yahweh and Yeshua is one. Yahweh entered into a marriage, and his desire was Israel. But guess what? Israel rejected him in conflict. So what did he do? He sent them into exile. And so they were, this one should tell us, we read where it said for 7 years, right? Yes, that was in verses 1 through 6. They were in bondage for 7 years, and then Gideon was to lead them out. Notice the number 7. Verse 16 through 21. And Yahweh said to him, because I am with you, you shall smite the Midianites as one man. And he said to him, please, if I have found favor in your eyes, then show me a sign that it is you who are speaking with me. Please do not move away from here until I come to you and bring my offering and set it before you. And he said, I shall stay until you return. I shall stay until you return. Let's see what he's doing. And Gideon went in and prepared a young goat and unleavened bread from an ephah of flour. And the meat he put in a basket, and he put the broth in a pot. And he brought them out to him, Yahweh, under the terebinth tree. Y'all remember he was under the terebinth tree before, right? With who? Abraham, right? All right, good, we're good. Under the terebinth tree, and Elohim said to him, take the meat and the unleavened bread and lay them on this rock. Lay them on this what? Very good, very good. And pour out the broth. And he did so. And the messenger of Yahweh put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand, and touched the meat of the unleavened bread. Now let me hold it right there for a second. Do y'all think Gideon saw him? Let me read that again. And the messenger of Yahweh put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand, and touched the meat and the unleavened bread. There's a very good chance that he saw the messenger. And I think he did. But you make up your own mind. And actually, I read the book. He says, I saw the face of Elohim. Right? Okay. Let's see. And fire went out of the rock and consumed the meat and the unleavened bread. And the messenger of Yahweh went from his sight. So did he see him? Yes, because it said it went from his sight. All right, so we got that cleared up. But y'all notice that rock in there? Ah, And it was the messenger of Yahweh, but we can also see where the messenger and Yahweh are one and the same. Chapter 7, again, I'm just taking a few verses, condensing them so we don't have to go through everything. Chapter 7, verse 3 through 6. And now proclaim in the hearing of the people, saying, whoever is afraid and trembling, let him turn back and leave Mount Gilead. And 22,000 of the people turned back, while 10,000 remained. Y'all see those numbers? 22,000 left. They were afraid. So that means they had some massive numbers that they were looking at, right? 10,000 said, we'll stay. And Yahweh said to Gideon, the people are still too many. Bring them down to the water and let me prove them for you here. And it shall be that of whom I say to you, this one goes with you. Let him go with you. And of whomever I say to you, this one does not go with you, let him not go. Sounds familiar, right? There's a time that we, this generation, will see that very same scenario. 5 are foolish. 5 are what? Let me try that one again, because I got this side of the room. 5 are foolish, and 5 were wise. There we go. All right, so let's continue looking at this. Last bullet. And the number of those who lapped, putting their hands to their mouth, were 300 men. And all the rest of the people bowed down on their knees to drink water. So those who lapped up the water, another part would say as dogs do, those are the ones you use. Now let's back up for a second. This man is already scared. He has 33,000 standing with him to fight, fighting men. And they're outnumbered. So all those who are afraid, send them home. 22,000 left. Do y'all think that helped his fear? The brother was scared. 22,000 left. But guess what? Yahweh with you is more than the majority of people against you. Right? He becomes a majority by himself. So Yahweh said, 10,000, still too many. Everyone who laps water, like a dog, the other part says, those you take. Now, I can tell you the brother was probably scared. But Yahweh strengthened his heart and said, do not be afraid of the enemy, because I go with you. And so, let's go back to Yahweh's desire. Exodus chapter 12, verses 14 and 15. I'm coming close to the end. And this day shall become to you a remembrance. Stop. And this day shall be what? Become to you a remembrance. Let me say it like this. It's not a remembrance to everyone. To your family members who reject this, it's not a remembrance. To your co-workers who reject this, it's not a remembrance. To everyone who says, oh, now you're a black Hebrew. Or you Hebrews, and I'm not a Hebrew. To everyone who's rejected you, he says this about you. And this day shall what? Become to you a remembrance. And you shall do what? Observe it as a festival to who? Yahweh. Throughout your generations. Observe it. He repeats, observe it as what? A festival. What? An everlasting law. I just want to hear y'all say that one again. A what? Everlasting law. So have we reached everlasting? No. Have we got to forever yet and past it? No. So we're still in a present time that is part of everlasting. So that means to you, this shall become what? A remembrance. Two facts. There's the actual Passover. There's things that happen in the actual Passover that we don't do. Very minuscule or very small things. But only a Torah observant person can help you understand those fine points. So there's the Torah, the actual that happened, Exodus 12 when they were told to come out. And then there's the remembrance. There are subtle differences. These are things we go through in our midrash. Let me continue going on. Let's see. 7 days, last bullet. 7 days you shall eat what? Indeed, on the first day you cause what? To cease from your house. For whoever eats bread from the first until the 7th day, that being shall be what? From who? Yahweh, the Father. Yeshua, the Son. Yahweh had a desire to enter into a covenant with Israel. So coming out of Egypt, he met them at the foot of what? Mount Sinai, and entered into what? A covenant. Right? That was his desire. And he said, when you go into the land, this is what you do when you go into what? The land. So now Yeshua is coming back, the Son. And so the Son, he comes back looking for what? A bride. And if he's coming back looking for a what? A bride, then he's coming back looking for his desire. Y'all see me? So the Father entered into a covenant. Guess what the Son is going to do? Enter into a covenant. And so what should we be doing when the Son comes? The desire of my Father. So let me, and I know I'm jumping. I'll probably rush through the next part because I'm jumping ahead. I'm trying to decide, should I do that? But remember, I'll go ahead. Remember, he said, who is my mother? Who is my brother? But he who does what? The desire of my Father, right? All right, so I'll get there. Matter of fact, let me move. Matthew 12, 46 through 50. Remembrance of me. And while he was still talking to the crowd, see, his mother and brother stood outside, seeking to speak with him. And one said to him, see, your mother and your brother are standing outside, seeking to speak with you. But he answering said to the one who spoke to him, who is my mother, and who are my brothers? And having stretched out his hand toward the taught ones, disciples, he said, see my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the desire of my Father, who is in the heavens, is my brother and my sister and my mother. Notice he didn't say my Father, right? He already knows who his Father is. But whoever does the desire of my Father. So what is the desire of the Father? 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 24 through 25. And having given thanks, he broke it. Everybody know we're talking about Yeshua, right? Okay. I try to remember to say that when I started reading, but especially for the camera, for those who are watching on, I need to be able to make sure that everybody know I'm talking about this Yeshua, some know him by Jesus, the Christ, the one who is risen. So let's continue. And having given thanks, he broke it and said, take, eat. This is my body, which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In the same way also this cup, the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the renewed covenant in my blood. As often as you drink it, do it in this remembrance. Do this in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do what? Proclaim the death of the master until when? Until he comes. So should we stop eating this yet? We do this until when? Until he comes, so that whoever should eat this bread or drink this cup of the master unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the master. Conjunction. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat the bread and drink of the cup. For the one who is eating and drinking unworthily eats and drinks judgment to himself, not discerning the body of the master. And so as we eat this bread, if you have a piece of matzah accessible nearby, can you just hold it up for a second? Everybody that can, at least one person should represent your whole table. That would be sufficient. He that eats this, and we're not talking about marketing matzah. It doesn't say matzah. You will read that. But it's unleavened bread. And if we eat this bread, he says, it is my body poured out for you. My body, which is broken for you. And so to this day, thank you. To this day, we do this in remembrance of Yeshua. Why? So that when he comes, he will fulfill his desire. And his desire is you. His desire is to go into a marriage just like his father did. His desire is you. And what should you do? Desire him. He that does what? The desire of my Father. What is the desire of my Father? When you get into the land, this is what you do. You eat and remember this night. And so we went through coming out of the land. We went through them being cast out of the land, now being with Gideon, being called to go against the Midianites, came down to 300, and he said, use them. And what did he do? He gave up unleavened bread, right? And so today, we coming out of slavery, descendants of slaves, and I think every island and every nation, I don't think I know, had descendants of Israel. If you are in this building, you are Israel. We may have ended up in different places at different times. Came here at different times from different places. But you, I'm talking to you now, because I already know who I am. I'm Israel. Make no mistakes about it. But my job now is to convince you, and if you're in this room, you already know. But for those of you who are on the camera, you are Israel. If you eat this bread for 7 days, you are fulfilling the desire of our Father. Can we give y'all our praise? Hallelujah.